Welcome to the Spirit of Western States, the official podcast of the world's oldest and most iconic 100-mile race, the Western States Endurance Run. I'm Carrie Ming, the Assistant Race Director of Western States, and I'm here with my co-host, John Trent, board member and aid station captain. John, we've actually been hanging out all day today. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, we're in real life where I could touch John. Typically, we're in opposite sides of the country. But today we're here together in Auburn, and we're actually sitting at the dining room table at Craig Thornley's house, race director.
Here it is, the nerve center of Western States. Yeah.
So we've been chatting all day today. It started out with our annual aid station captains meeting. So we had a meeting today where we get all of our aid station captains together and various other managers together in the same room. We had approximately 65 people in attendance at that meeting this morning. And we went straight from that into a board meeting that we just wrapped that up. So we have a lot to talk about today. Today's focus is going to be volunteerism, particularly pertaining to aid stations, which are where the majority of our race weekend volunteers are stationed. As always, we'll get history lessons from John Trent and talk about how we got to where we are today with our aid stations. And John Trent is also an aid station captain in addition to a board member and has run the race a bunch of times. So anyhow, we will dive into aid stations. For anybody who's just joining Spirit of Western States for the first time, this is our third episode. So the goal of our podcast, we have a few goals, but right now is to record once a month and to discuss whatever is relevant for our organization at that time. And we thought, since January is our aid station captains meeting and it's kind of kicking off the 2026 year for planning for our race in June, that that will be our focus today to discuss, and like the heartbeat of our races, our aid stations and our aid station volunteers. So if you have missed episodes 1 and 2, we are on YouTube now, so you can watch on YouTube, and we are also on Apple Podcast and Spotify. So you can find episodes 1 and 2 that were heavily focused on lottery. So we did a lot of pre-lottery talk in our first episode in November, the lottery process, applying for the lottery, so forth. And then we did a really fun lottery recap in episode 2. So you can go back and listen to those or watch those on YouTube when you get done with this one. So I think we'll start off and kind of just start diving into history, John.
Sure.
And how did aid stations come to be with Western States? Tevis came first, the horse race, and they had aid stations. Was it more? Was it less than what we have at the run? Or how did that end up that were the first handful of runners that were running as part of Tevis just using aid stations that were like the horse aid stations? So anyhow, if you can give us a little background on how aid stations came to be for Western States for the runners, that'd be great.
Yeah, Carrie. It's an interesting story, I think, because you're right. The horse ride came about. And then when, Gordy Ainsleigh ran with the horses in 1974, they had the horses would go through mainly a vet check, to make sure that the horses are doing okay, obviously. And then, there would be some aid for the riders as well there. And so, Gordy ran through those same areas. He had friends, who came out and helped, but they're basically checkpoints, where they were checked for the well-being of the horse, because it was super important that the horses were ridden in a way that they weren't ridden into the ground. They could go, at a very, high rate or whatever, but you always wanted to be an excellent horseman or horsewoman and take care of your horse. So they had those vet checks. So fast forward a little bit, 1977. At this point, there's 14 runners running with the horses that year. 77 is an important year because at that point, a couple of key figures in the history of the race suddenly see the run that's happening. They're exposed to it for the first time. Mo Livermore is out there with Dr. Bob Lind. Dr. Lind he's a human doctor. He was there to look after, the runners. But, at this point, it is still, you're going through these vet check areas, and there aren't many of them, just a handful of these checkpoints. If you think about the way the race is today, the major checkpoints are still basically what they had back then. So, for example, Robinson Flat, Michigan Bluff, Forest Hill. Instead of the river, it was White Oak Flat, which is up above the river crossing, and that was approximately 80-ish miles into the ride and the run, and maybe another one or two downstream. Not that many aid stations, and so Mo Livermore is hanging out with Dr. Bob Lind, and also at that point, Shannon Weil is out, competing in the horse ride, and Andy Gonzalez is winning the race, and Shannon sees Andy running, and she realizes that the race is going to be a big deal. Mo is being exposed to the race through hanging out with Dr. Lind, watching Dr. Lind with his stethoscope and his thermometer, checking on how the runners are doing. So from that experience, Wendell Roby, who's the founder of the race, of the horse ride, he gives his blessing that, actually there should be, the run should be separate from the ride. And, an organization is formed. Mo and Shannon are key pieces of it. And as Mo and Shannon are developing how this modern Western state should be, Mo in particular she's in charge of gathering up a lot of the volunteers. And she's thinking in terms of how do we make sure that we take care of the runners? And, again, thinking back to the late 1970s, the nation is going through a big running boom. So there's road races going on, New York City Marathon. You have like a table set up. The runners grab, water off the tables, perhaps, and that's all it was. Mo takes it a step further. She knows that there you can go out and give aid. So why not have like a table with more than just water on it? Maybe even there's a little bit of snacks or something like that for the runners. But nobody's ever done this before. So Mo takes it upon herself she not only recruits a bunch of her friends and the people that she knows in the Auburn area, and in preparation for Western States in 1978 and further on, she would take these folks out and they would set up a practice table. And this would be in the wintertime, or early springtime. And they would have like a practice table where these people who did not know what an aid station was, but Mo Livermore is telling them, well, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to set things up. They have a table, they have all this stuff, and they practice as runners. Here's a runner coming through from this race, and we're going to, aid them. So Mo, is a very particular and a very detail-oriented person, as you could tell. Yeah. And from that, really, and I know that, probably people might quibble a little bit with this, but I think you could argue that some of the first true ultra aid stations in a trail race in particular were born right on the Western States Trail through this effort of Mo Livermore of taking her, these volunteers are not necessarily runners, and maybe they're horse people, and they're probably wondering, what the heck is going on here? This seems kind of crazy, but I'm going to do what Mo's telling me to do. And the aid station is born.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could argue that is when the aid station was born, and that now all future and modern aid stations have evolved from that.
Think about what we offer now versus right. Back then, and what seemed like, oh, this is really luxurious. I mean, they have water and there's some kind of Gatorade here. Well, this is great.
Yeah, maybe some pretzels. I don't know. Peanut butter and jelly. When did that start? I mean, and because gels, goos or chews or rock tank, any of that. That was years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So running on minimal, and I mean, you don't know any better. Like that's just what you run with then. Yeah. Like the thought of all of us now of only having that is like, oh, that's crazy. But that's just what it was then. And you didn't know any better or have any better. And even to the gear, the water bottles were, just bottles that you held. There weren't packs.
Yeah.
And maybe even duct tape, which we saw that last year still with one of our old timers. But anyhow, it's very fun, like a really interesting thing to think about, and to Mo's dedication to making sure that the runner experience was the best that it could be by having her volunteers practice. I love that.
That really sets the standard, I think, that we see today. Yeah. I mean, I think Western States prides itself on the way the runner experience is everything. And, you can see from that very beginning, that's where that's born.
Wow. Yes, that's a great point. And we now I could say we have both experienced that as a runner since I
Mhm.
have run the race one time, of how dialed in our volunteers are to the needs of our runners, and how hands-on and attentive they are to them. And that started somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right
yeah,
here. Yeah.
amazing. And so as far as where the aid stations are placed. And I know that how where our aid stations are now is not how it's always been.
Hmm.
There's been less aid stations than we have now, but there's also been more.
There have been. Yeah. I mean, there was a point probably in the, I don't know, early 1990s, late 1980s, where, it's this handful just it mushrooms. Um, and you have, an aid station, for example, and maybe we touched on this the last time, going up the escarpment, there's an aid station there. There were a lot of aid stations as runners, in the more remote parts of the course, what were considered kind of the more remote parts of the course, there were aid stations developed there. There's a whole section of the race now that doesn't exist anymore. For those that have run the race from back in the early 2000s, late 1990s, you would drop down from after you ran Robinson Flat, you go across Kavanaugh Ridge and then drop down into what was called Deep Canyon, which was just basically this road, this Forest Service road, and there was an aid station down there, and you'd run down there, and so over the years, I think as the skill level and the conditioning and the fitness and the experience level of the runners increased, I think there was the thought like, okay, maybe this is almost too much. And I know that was one of the things when Craig Thornley became our race director. Craig wanted to make sure that, it wasn't an aid station every 3 or 4 miles. And on certain parts of the course there are, but there are sections where it's up to the runner to kind of take care of themselves a little bit more. And those sections, and, as the course has evolved and changed, and, we'll see it even with the new Granite Chief project, how it's going to reroute the course in a couple of years, it changes, and aid stations change, their locations change.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we had the escarpment one 3, 4 miles into the race. There was one at No Hands at one
Hmm.
point,
Hmm.
making that I guess that would be like a 6-mile section broken up, like,
Hmm.
maybe, like, halfway-ish or something, every 3
Yeah.
miles, so,
Hmm.
anyhow, and there were more, and, one of my favorite stories of when I first started working for Western States in 2023, I met Shannon at Michigan Bluff.
Hmm.
It was training camp weekend, and, I was meeting so many people, and she, told me who she was. She explained Mo Shan to me, um, um, referring to Mo Livermore and Shannon Weil, and then she started to explain to me of how they would decide where to put an aid station
Yeah.
in addition to, like, logistics or what, and I'm not gonna get the story right, and I don't want to butcher the story, but it was to the effect of that energy, like, if she would,
Hmm.
like, feel certain energy
Hmm.
around a location on the map, for
Yeah.
instance, or and she would I think one she told me a story about seeing, like, a light illuminate. I don't remember if it was on a map or
Hmm.
somewhere. I'd have to ask her
Hmm.
to retell the story. But I thought that was super interesting that she would feel some kinda energy coming from, like, the Lion Ridge area or the Red Star area, and she's like, "That's where we need to put an aid station."
Yeah, you can understand that perspective when you've been out on the Western States Trail and you run certain parts of it, and you do feel that. I think anybody when they spend time on a trail, there are certain sections that are just you either receive that energy, or you're in need of that energy,
Mhm.
and it helps you, and it speaks to, I think, again, the skill level of Mo and Shannon as race directors, to understand their race at kind of almost a cellular level, that and a soul level, that they can understand like where the aid station needed to be, not necessarily, although as you mentioned, logistics is important, but more about like where it was needed the
Yes,
most. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, great. So now here we are going into our 2026 race, aid stations. And like I mentioned, if John Trent is one of our aid station captains.
Yeah.
Forest Hill, very well known, famous aid station in mile 62 of the race and in the town of Forest Hill. And so I would love to get. I'm not a captain of an aid station of Western States. I've never volunteered during the race at an aid station. So I'd love your perspective from a station captain's viewpoint of the logistics
Mm.
of managing an aid station, especially one as big as Forest Hill, because everybody goes there. All the crews go there. So if you split your crew into A and B, both A and B typically go to Forest Hill. A lot of the sponsors have activations there.
Yeah.
A lot of spectators go there because it's such a
Mhm.
fun place to watch the race, because you can see them coming through town. It's one of the brief periods that they're not on a trail
Yeah.
that's not visible, so you can see all the runners coming all the way through town to Cow Street. Logistically, the amount of planning that takes, how many volunteers do you have at your aid station, and like what you guys do to prep ahead of time? What part of that is like the Western States organization that you get that from is like aid station pickup. Maybe just talk through that process of what it means, that kind of commitment to be a captain of the Western States aid station.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it does take a lot. I mean, I'm part of a group of, I consider us to be a team of aid station captains. There's three or four other people in Reno, where I'm from, and that's where our running club is. The Silver State Striders are in Reno, and the Striders have a long history. This Forest Hill's been our aid station for more than 3 decades, and so it's really, really important that we carry on this tradition. First of all, that was established by people that were in the club from back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. The preparation, like, for example, we're going to have our first, we had the aid station captains meeting today, and then our operations sort of group, we're going to be getting together here in the next week or so.
Mm.
The first of several
Mhm.
get-togethers where we're going to talk about what we need to do this year.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it where you're just organizing throughout the year. And, I think what a lot of aid stations here, I think what benefits them is you have a chance to practice, if you will. So, like
Mhm.
this isn't the only aid station we do, associated with Western States. We'll be out to do the pump aid station, for example, during the Memorial Day weekend training camp. That gives you a chance to rally all the troops to get out there, to get on the trail. And, Mo Livermore would be proud of us. We're practicing, for the big day.
Right.
And so you have that. And then, so race day comes around, and to give you an idea of what this entails. So our team gets out there, the race on Saturday. We're out there by 3 p.m. on Friday. And start setting up, the aid station and the area that we know that is going to be like this, the hub. And then we also interface, pretty extensively with representatives from our presenting sponsor, Hoka, which has a huge presence there. And we work with Hoka to make sure that, the aid station when people run in, they know that, Hoka is a big part of our race and a
Mhm.
big supporter of the success of our race. So you've got all of that. And then, we have a really, really organized person named Casey Green, who Casey is our volunteer coordinator. And she works with a couple of other people to make sure that we know exactly how many people we have, and when we have different shifts, because we're basically, the way that race goes now, used to be you'd wait around till 2 or 3 p.m. No, not anymore. Thanks to Jim Walmsley and others.
Yeah.
By 1 o'clock, it's showtime in Forest Hill. So we have people that come and work, setting up, and then the race gets going. And then there's another crew that comes in the evening, because we stay open till past 11 o'clock for the cutoff. So we have to have fresh people that are there as well. So you're probably talking anywhere from 60 to 80 volunteers total. And they're people love the race so much, even though they're part of a shift in the evening, they'll come out and during the day and
Mhm.
help. And the people who are there during the day stay to the bitter end, you know. So you have all of that going on. So there's an incredible amount of organization goes on. What we try to do is try to instill from the very beginning with everybody in our aid station. I think all the aid station captains do this, that we're the best aid station. This is the most important aid station. No runner is going to have their race end here. We're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that from the first runner to the last runner, that they leave the aid station and they continue on their journey to Auburn. And that's our focus. That is our unmitigated, undivided attention is on that from that point on. And I think every aid station feels that way. And that's why Western States, all the aid stations do just a fantastic job. And then we have all the logistics involved with, we have all the supplies. We are like an ice hub,
Yep.
so we have like an ice truck there where we keep the ice frozen, not only for ourselves, but for, on that side of the course. You have Robinson Flat, you have Michigan Bluff, you have downstream from us, you have the Cal Street aid stations. All those aid stations come and get their ice from us. If they need more ice, we run it down to them, or they come and get more, So we're constantly not only just taking care of the runners who are coming in and out of our aid station, but we're a hub in terms of getting supplies to people at these other aid stations where they can't necessarily get them as quickly.
Yeah, that's a good point to make, and I wanna touch on that. 2 things that you said I wanna touch on, that the mission statement of the Forest Hill Aid Station is that every runner is coming in and getting out, and they're heading out, they're on their way out the course. Before the race last June that, I ran, I talked to several aid station captains and volunteers prior to the race, whether it was like through an email or just in person or what have you. And most of them, they're like, we look forward to welcoming you into our aid station and then quickly pushing you out. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can attest to that is probably the similar mission as all the aid stations is taking care of you in a way that supports you to continue on the course.
Yes.
You're not hanging out too long at our aid station.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also on the note of, just talking about supporting not just, each runner that comes in and you guys are housing the ice and making sure those other aid stations are supported. You guys also are managing, along with a lot of our other aid stations as well, crews
Mhm.
and managing the crowds. So crews, media, which is a
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
And in addition to what I was saying, how like spectators and Forest Hill being so spectator friendly, it also is very media friendly, meaning that there's a
Mhm.
lot of footage to be gotten there and captured. And so you guys have so much on your plate. Not just at Forest Hill, like Robinson Flat has this, Michigan Bluff, like most of our aid stations, especially the ones that have crew access, the river.
Yeah.
You guys are managing hundreds, thousands of other people in addition to the runners, but of course, runners are the main focus. But then you have to have policy, you have to have processes in place
Mhm.
to make sure that you can focus on the runners, right?
Yeah.
And whether that's like we had to add additional barricade
Mhm.
like last year, just, crowd control fencing so we can make sure the runners can still run through
Yeah.
these giant crowds. And so every year there's this adjustment that we may have to make based on something that occurred the previous year. Like we have our big Forest Hill meeting coming up
Yeah.
this coming week
Mhm.
to discuss, crowd control and parking and all the logistics that come along with having such a popular aid station and popular race. So that they're all really like fun problems to have, but they're still problems
Yeah.
and that we have to work through. And, if it wasn't for people like you, John Trent, Casey, and all your other co-captains and your 80 to 90 volunteers just for this one location out of 20 that we have along the
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be possible. So just can't emphasize that enough. That's why we're like, we have to have a podcast that is just to recognize all of our volunteers and then, you started off talking about that your day starts at 3 PM the prior day,
Mhm.
but really 2 weeks prior,
Yeah.
you guys come to the warehouse.
Yep.
We have this big day at the warehouse 2 weeks prior to the race
Mhm.
that's aid station pickup day. And, Todd Larson oversees that, and he has a crew of people that help him with that. and they have all the aid station stuff kind of laid out, spread out in
Mm.
the parking lot and area, and all the aid station captains just start funneling in throughout the day and picking up their supplies. And then anything that you guys are providing above and beyond what the race provides, as far as, you got your goose that we provide, and we have like standard, we got our paydays and our goldfish. And
Yeah.
so that everybody can always expect you're having these staples. Well, maybe you also, is there something that you guys
Oh
specialize in?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what is it that
Our
Horse
rice
Hill
balls. We
rice
have
ball?
these killer rice balls. It was something that Casey introduced at our aid station several years ago. We we use them at Forest Hill when we're working the canyons. We have them available there when we're doing it for the pump. During Memorial Day weekend, runners love them, and it's funny because you don't know what runners are going to like.
Yeah.
They're going to be finicky about it, and I think maybe there was one time we either ran out or we didn't offer them, and suddenly, people are coming through like, where are the rice balls? And that's what they came to expect from us. Yeah. So I think every aid station has their own little touch that they have. The other thing that we've done for many years, and it's funny because the elites come through so quickly now, but we've always, and this goes way back to our aid station, we have what we call greeters. So we have a group of volunteers that are just outside of the aid station, and every single runner that comes in has one of our greeters who accompanies them into the aid station. I think a number of aid stations do that, and that's super important for us. I mean, the elites, obviously, they don't need anything. Oftentimes, they'll just kind of, run through and continue on down to their own crew.
Yeah.
Um, but as the race progresses, you'll see like our greeters will be coming along next to a runner, and the runner will be walking slowly. Our greeter will be walking, and there's that communication that happens about, well, what do you need? What's happening?
Mhm.
How's your day?
Yes.
And all of that. So that's the other thing that we try to make it super personal. We want the runners who come into our aid station to feel like, this is like home to them, not homes that they stay there forever, but just so they, quickly can get in and out.
Yeah.
One of the greatest examples of that was a few years ago. I forget the young woman's name. She was from Las Vegas. I remember that because we're from Nevada. And it was right before the cutoff. She had maybe 10 minutes to spare, and she was so upset. And we have a number of highly enthusiastic volunteers, and one of them is a woman by the name of Ashley Hall. And Ashley, if you've ever met her, is an extremely very enthusiastic young woman. And she loves running and loves ultra running. So anyway, this poor young woman from Las Vegas is upset. She's crying. I look over, I see Ashley moving in. I'm thinking, okay, that's good. Ashley's going to work with her pretty soon. I look over, Ashley's crying, and see the woman's crying, and then the woman's kind of yelling at Ashley, and Ashley's yelling back at the woman. And eventually she gets up and she leaves the aid station, and I'm just thinking, oh, that I don't know, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And so, like a lot of aid stations, we always, once we're done and we pack up and everything, we always go to the track to see the golden hour. I think it's, so all of our people from the aid station are there. And, miraculously, that young woman from Las Vegas, she finished the race. She finished during the golden hour, and she finishes. And then Ashley walked up to her and said, "Hey, do you remember me?" And the woman turned and she saw Ashley, and she just burst out crying. Of course I remember you. And they hugged. And
Oh,
it's moments like that that really put into perspective why it matters,
yeah.
why aid stations at Western States really matter.
That is a really fun story, and I'm gonna just, like, foreshadow the end of our just because that was a very good segue.
Yeah.
Today at our A Station captains meeting, I asked all of our captains and co-captains to write down their why of why they do this, and so, I don't think I got 100% of them back,
You got
but
a lot.
I got a lot.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be in a little bit towards the end of the call. I'm gonna go through these index card. I haven't read any of them yet, and hear probably stories like that, or at least like, anyways, it'll be about their why of why our captains keep doing this and keep coming back, because we have some captains that have been here I think the Red Star captains, this
The
might be
Scots.
39.
Yeah, the Scott family. Yeah, I think they've been. They're the longest tenured by a lot. Yeah, for
Yeah, so
sure.
I wanna say they might be in year 39. I could be wrong about that. It's very close, somewhere between 38 and 40 coming up
Hmm.
this year. So and there's other stories like that, in 20 years, 25 years,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's unbelievable. So there's a reason, and everybody's reason, I'm sure, is different, but comes back to probably community and runners and having that another purpose. And I mean, these types of experiences, like running 100 miles and running Western States, are life changing. And if you as a volunteer or uh, impacting that or helping someone. I mean, I know for my personal experience, if it wouldn't have been for volunteers on the course, I wouldn't have finished. So to have that life changing experience, and having the volunteers was a um, essential for me to finish. So anyhow, we will get into the why towards the end. We're gonna kind of dive into a little bit more just specifics about aid stations. We already talked about about how many volunteers. I know that that's pretty typical, those kind of numbers. Especially at aid stations that have crews and so forth. I think our non-crewing aid stations, maybe they can get away with less volunteers, but it's still probably 40, 50
Yeah.
volunteers
Yeah.
at all our aid stations. We estimate along the course, 1,200 or so,
Hmm.
just based on how many volunteer shirts we order. It's somewhere in that 1,200 to 1,500
I got to share, and
volunteers.
this is an inside baseball thing, but it just shows what a I get a little over enthusiastic about participation at Forest Hill. This is kind of an ongoing joke amongst the Western States organization. So, you mentioned the T-shirts and ordering the T-shirts, and I've been banned from ordering T-shirts for the Forest Hill Aid Station. I'm not allowed to do it anymore because I don't know. It always felt like there, 80 or 90 felt like more to me, or whatever. And so a couple of years there, I at least, yeah, I think I asked for 200 volunteer t-shirts
Oh,
or something along the lines of that. And so I'm no longer allowed to participate in that
okay.
aspect of our
So
aid
there were a
station.
lot of leftover
Yeah,
shirts, is
there
what you're
a
saying.
lot, but I mean, I was thinking, yeah, 80, 90, or 300,
Yeah.
it just feels like a lot. Yeah.
Well, you wanted to make sure everybody got a shirt.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that is important. These
Hmm.
shirts are really special for people. And speaking of, each year our shirt highlights a different aid station or a point along the course. So this past year was Rucky Chucky. So I know that when that particular Forest Hill was the year before, I
Yeah.
believe
Hmm.
2024. So it's kind of extra special, right? When you're like, oh, it's our aid station being
Yes.
highlighted on the
Yeah.
volunteer shirt. And we can thank Lori Thornley. She heads that up, the design and, rotating which aid station is going to be highlighted. I had some inside scoop on this year's, but
Uh-oh.
I don't know if it's true.
Reveal.
It's kind of a rumor. I didn't actually hear it from
We
the
got a reveal
horse's
here,
mouth.
Carrie. What are
Yeah,
we doing?
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. She didn't give me she's not the one that told
Well,
me.
well, stay tuned.
And I don't know if I'm allowed
Yeah.
to tell.
So
So
stay tuned. Maybe we'll have a reveal later on in the season.
yeah, there we go. Shirt reveal. That'd be fun. And then okay, so we talked about aid station pickup day. That's 2 weeks prior. You talked about your rice bowls and all the aid stations. And so then you guys have to go out again, go do your shopping for what you need for
Yeah.
your rice bowls, rice balls.
Yeah.
And one aid station I remember very specifically about the food had these tater tots
Oh, yeah.
that were seasoned.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Cal 3. It was one of the
I think
Cal
you're right.
3 aid stations, and I was amazed at how they're cooking tater tots,
Yeah.
and they were so hot and seasoned, and anyhow, I still do not know how they did that. And I mean, that is a really hard aid station to get to. There's no electricity that they bring to. I don't know how they did that, but it seemed like magic in the middle of the night.
Every aid station, we have these people that have these special talents.
Mhm.
And I'm a word person. I don't think in this way, but every aid station has like a sort of person who's, yeah, we can cook in this way, or we can get this, this power source and do this, and it's going to be like gourmet level kind of stuff. And you're like, I can't even, I don't even know how to turn on a microwave, let alone set it up in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah, and I meant
Every
to ask them today, was it one of those, like, turkey fryers with
hmm
propane? Are they frying
yeah.
tater tots in that? I don't know, but it was magic. Like, I just remember it was one of those vivid memories. It was the middle of the night. I was having such a low moment of eating these tater tots, and I was just amazed at how hot they were too, because I mean, how do you keep the food hot?
Yeah.
So, one thing okay, so we talked about in our last episode of all the entry methods to get into Western
Mhm.
states, and aid station spots was one of them, so we won't go into, like, all the depth of that. Go back and listen to episode 2. We discussed, each one of our aid stations gets a spot into the race, and each aid station has their own way of determining. I don't do you wanna get into that with Forest how y'all do it at Forest Hill?
Sure.
That
Yeah.
might be an interesting story. So, yeah, each aid station gets a spot in the race, and they
hmm
determine it on their own,
Yeah.
of how they allot that spot. So what do you guys do?
Yeah, and we try to make it really rigorous. I mean, to get first of all, to get into Western states, as everybody knows, is really really hard. And so if you do get a spot, our feeling has always been you need to have earned it. And it's not like we have people run across like hot coals and then swim through alligator infested waters or anything like that. But we want these people that get our spot to represent what Western States is about, which is community and volunteerism, and what our own running group, the Striders, the Silver State Striders, what we're about, which is also those couple of things. So throughout the year, a person has to have put in at least 25 volunteer hours at, working with us at, again, these sort of practice events that we have, whether it's at the canyons. We have a great relationship with Chaz and the canyons. Chaz comes and helps our race in Reno. We help him there. Tahoe Rim Trail 100. George Rees is a longtime friend of our race. Go up there and volunteer and get your hours at TRT 100. 25 hours of volunteer. We have weekly runs. A couple times a week, we have group runs. You have to be a regular presence at those runs. We don't want, somebody to be kind of a drive-by presence where,
Yeah.
they're after our spot and we never see them other than they volunteer, but then they're never an active part of our group, which we think is important. And then they have to get their qualifier, of course. And then the last piece is, and I love this because I'm a word person, we have them write an essay about, what their experience with us has meant, what the whole ultra running community is about. And those are incredibly moving. I mean, as you can imagine, we've had people really share some personal reasons why they feel like they should be a part of Western states and why they feel like our group has helped them. So we've had as many as 8 or 9 and as few as 2 or 3. And then so if you have gone through all that process and you've put in your hours, you got your qualifier, we read your essay and we feel like yes, yeah, and you've been a regular presence, then you go into a drawing that we have where
Mm.
we get together, we have some food at a local pizza place, and we have a drawing. It's usually incredibly well attended. People who aren't even in the drawing show up. It's sort of like
Oh,
our Western States is a lottery, and we pick a name out of the hat, and that's our person. And then that person becomes our focus. That's, our group does everything we possibly can over the course of the next 6 months to make sure that that person, as they're training, whatever they're doing to prepare, that we're doing all we can to help them in any way we can.
I love that. Yeah, that's do all the people that are in the hat, are they all in attendance? So
Yes.
let's say that you had 6 people that met all the criteria, so they're all there.
They're all there. And, honestly, and I don't blame them, you look around and there's this incredible jubilation, right? And then invariably, and I get this 100%. You look and there are some people that are just sitting there like super disappointed.
Yeah.
And I understand, it's just like, when we get together, in December and have our lottery, not everybody, gets into the race and you really feel for them.
Mm.
Um, but, you know, those people who didn't make it invariably are the ones who I have found they help our entrant throughout. They're usually good friends. We're all good friends anyway, and they might end up pacing them, or being part of their crew, and then when our runner comes through Forest Hill,
Oh my God.
it's yeah,
Yeah. Can only imagine how that feels.
it's an emotional. It's one of those things, like, I always think about it as, I'm at the age now where I'm a dad and a grandpa too. It's like your child is coming through and they've made it, 60% of the way. And, you're overcome with all the feels when you see
And
them.
I would bet that they them knowing you guys are there. I mean, that is a big part of them making it to Forest Hill and even the finish line after that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, first of all, you probably feel a little bit of pressure, like I
Yeah.
did, that I have been gifted this spot that is so hard to get into, by my peers. And now I know they're also probably going to be either like at the finish line or there shortly after waiting for me. So, but it's a good kind of pressure. It's the
Yeah.
kind of pressure that brings out the best in us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think every aid station spot, no matter how they determine that, I think, that runner who's representing that aid station, they feel it. I remember just a few years ago when I ran the race for the most recent time in 2021, and I was going through some of the aid stations. There were a couple of different points where just this massive cheering started. And I'm like, I know, is this for me? No, it was like that aid station's runner coming through, and the people knew them, and it was like this reunion, and just watching what was happening, it was incredible. And I'm just like, wow, they just love this person.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And kind of speaking of recognition and recognizing volunteers, and that's one way that we do that by giving that spot per aid station. But um, you also have, and being on the board, we have a bunch of different committees, and you are on our award committee. So this is you're the perfect person to talk to about this. Um, Awards and recognition. Like, what are some things that Western States organization does to help recognize our volunteers and outstanding, maybe those that like really shine or outstanding volunteers? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a good, happy to do that, Carrie, because it speaks to how important volunteers are and how we, really cherish all of our volunteers. So there's the Friend of the Trail Award, which has been around a really, really long time. Again, that one goes back to Shannon, actually. That award, the Friend of the Trail, was created in the spirit of her mother, who was the ultimate volunteer for Western States, where she would help check the runners in at the start of the race, and then she would go man an aid station. And she was, her mother Nancy was like the ultimate Western States volunteer, and that was kind of the
I
genesis.
did not know that story.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah. And
yeah.
so and it was that spirit of her mother, who just would do anything for the race as a volunteer, that the Friend of the Trail came about. And so we have that. We also have an award. It's called the Station Master Award, which is like, if after you've been, at an aid station as the captain there for 15 years, which is, that's a big
Time.
chunk of time.
Yeah.
You receive that award. And then over the past year or so, we've made a concerted effort to try to come up with more ways to try to honor our volunteers. And so we've created several different awards. One is called the Bob Lind Medical Award. There's the Captain Marvin Jacinto Community Award, and then there's the Sophie Brown Volunteerism Award. So Dr. Lind was, the first medical director of Western States. That goes to a very deserving, longtime medical volunteer person, who's been part of the race for a long time. So that was an award given out last year. The Jacinto Award is again for like somebody who's brought the community involved with the race, and so trail work especially is one of those aspects. So that was given out. And then also the Sophie Brown Award was given out last year. And I always love, all three of those awards have great stories. And this one's one of the better stories associated with it. So Sophie Brown was a longtime volunteer at Devil's Thumb. Earlier today, Dennis Zyloff, the longtime, board member and aid station captain, Devil's Thumb, told Sophie's story a lot better than I could. But essentially, Sophie was the type of person that when she volunteered, she gave everything she possibly could. And that even meant to her last days, so eventually Sophie became sick. And, and I can remember experiencing this. One of the great things of Devil's Thumb is you talk about the distinguishing food or, kind of nice touch. There was this great homemade chicken soup. And you could tell it wasn't just out of like a Campbell's can. I mean, because you'd be sitting there and you'd be dying, and you'd be like, man, this tastes really, really good. So it was homemade. It was a homemade recipe that Sophie Brown used for many, many years at Devil's Thumb. And so when she became sick and she was dying, she made sure that the person who was going to replace her as the person who was among other things, the cook there at Devil's Thumb, that person had the exact recipe for the homemade chicken soup that had saved hundreds of runners at Devil's Thumb, which is, as we all know, is one of the most difficult parts of the course. So that award is named, in the spirit of this incredible woman who, to the very, very end, Western States was everything to her.
Yeah, John Trent. So Dennis today at the board meeting, because we were discussing awards and, the award committee was giving us an update, and he wanted to, oh, no, this was at the aid station captain's meeting. We had the 2 meetings today. At the aid station captain's meeting today, Dennis just wanted to emphasize how important this award is, and that when our captains are thinking about if they want to nominate somebody for it, what this award means. And he told the story that at Sophie's funeral, that they had an aid station set up like a replica of Devil's Thumb. And that was, one of her wishes. And so talk about dedication. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but that is extraordinary dedication. And that's probably one of, many stories we have of people like that are out there manning our aid stations.
Yeah, no, and I think Carrie, you experienced this when you ran the race.
Absolutely.
You already know a lot of the people involved with the race or whatever. But when you go into an aid station, you're not only looking to get what you need, but you're kind of hoping for that spark or something that's going to carry you a little bit further down the trail, and that's what people like Sophie Brown, that's what people like our people at all of our aid stations, that's what they supply. It's not, yeah, I've got this caffeinated electrolyte drink or whatever, and it's concentrated in such and such manner. It's the human thing. It's that ability to look into a person's eye and show that you care about them. And that's what this race has in spades, for sure.
Yes, very well said. And today I made it a point because today was the first day that I've seen a lot of our captains since running the race. So I made sure that I went up to a few people that I specifically remember having that face-to-face interaction with them, and making sure they knew how much of an impact they had on me finishing the race.
See, that's nice of you to do that too. I mean, it's nice. It's nice as a volunteer at an aid station when the runner that you've worked with, when they come up to you and say they appreciate what you. I mean, that is the payment.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, shall we go through our cards?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what people have written.
Yes, and hopefully I can read everybody's handwriting. Looks like we're starting with Peachstone, which is also Cal 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is from Joanne, our captain there. She has been she made a little note on here, 34 years.
Yeah. Joanne's a really good hand. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. So I love heading up Peachstone because it keeps me keeps me tied to the running community. Plus, my crew is such a fun bunch. Yeah, community. We see it right here in our first feedback. Let's see. We have Sean Garba from Ford's Bar, which is also Cal 3.
Yeah.
He has been there since 2018. Captaining the aid station gives me an opportunity to help other people transform their lives through running, just like I was able to do because of other volunteers at other races. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
I love this race and I love the people. The community that brought me into the race is the community that I support. I love supporting people also that choose to do hard things. To see people achieve their goal and help them to do it is awesome.
Mm.
I do not know who they didn't put.
Anonymous.
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
put that what aid station or who it was. Okay, these are our cutoff coordinators. Mike and Kathy Hernandez, who have
Yeah.
been doing it for 13 years, and they brought on their son Caleb 4 years ago. So this is from
Yeah.
all three of them. We love helping the golden hour runners. We encourage crews to motivate their runners to make it before cutoff. In the last few years, Caleb has been instrumental in getting runners on the cusp of being cut to the run to the last mile and to and through the aid stations. Yeah, cutoff coordinators. That's
You know, and I got to say, you know, as an ultra runner coming up a long time ago, Mike Hernandez was one of the guys. You know, he was one of the guys.
well,
If you wanted to finish the race, you'd stay near Mike.
stay near
You know,
Mike. Yes, and
it's
now
still
stay
the
ahead
case.
of Mike.
Stay ahead of Mike.
See Mike, you run. Okay, this is from Roby Point. So at Roby Point, the magic starts after sunrise. We are the last hope for those struggling and can often be found giving words of wisdom and encouragement all the way to the finish line. Those without crew or pacers, delirious and struggling to walk are frequently what's this?
Followed, I think.
Followed
Yeah.
or led a
Yeah.
runner to the track so they aren't alone. Yes, followed or led a runner to the track so they aren't alone. It's pure joy.
Yeah. Amen.
Wonderful. Okay, another one from Roby Point. This aid station loves the golden hour and getting those final runners to the track. Amy
Yeah.
Phillips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I very
You know
clearly
that
remember
well.
Roby Point. Yes, I was in the golden hours, past 29 hours at that point. And I remember those volunteers there, and also Bill Hamrick and Mo Bartley were waiting for me at Roby Point.
Oh.
So that was extra special. Okay, Pointed Rocks, Andrew Taylor. I have volunteered, run the race, crewed or paced runners since 2011. My why for being a co-captain at Pointed Rocks for the past 3 years is to give back to the community that has given me so many memorable experiences.
Mhm.
ALT volunteer for 14 years, co-captain for most of those years. I volunteer because it is personally rewarding to help these awesome runners achieve their goal of finishing states. After running Western States in 2016 and experiencing the love and support I received from the 350 plus volunteers, my goal now is to try and make sure every runner and pacer that comes through our aid station has the same supportive and wonderful experience that I had.
Yeah.
That's Omar.
That's right.
Omar was one of the ones I talked to today that I very specifically remember interacting with at ALT during my race last year. Yeah, he's wonderful. Okay, last chance, Eric. He has 2022 written on here. That must be when he started as captain.
Yeah.
My dad, Tom Kazersot, started 4, finished 1 Western States in 2003. He passed away in 2010. I received special consideration entry to run in 2011 in dedication to my dad. Some of his ashes were scattered as part of my race by the river below Last Chance in 2011.
Wow.
He was a longtime Stevens Creek Strider. They have worked Last Chance for over 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's Eric's wife. RC, I assume that is Rookie Chucky. Why we volunteer. It is such an honor to be part of each runner's journey. To get to help someone accomplish this major dream is unreal, especially the later runners. Rookie Chucky is a beacon of light, literally and figuratively. Yes, I can attest to that in the middle of the night. That you see that light and hear the music. All right. Slagermine Parking.
Yeah.
Green Gate Ballet. And Johnny Glover. Funny. Yeah, like I was saying at the captain's meeting today, one of those kind of thankless jobs that you don't really get to see the race and you're parking cars, but we have amazing parking managers. So Johnny, I volunteer because I love making sure shit gets done. I enjoy most the jobs positions that others do not want. out of the limelight and appreciated behind the scenes. The small parts are the shoulders, the big parts stand on.
Wow.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, MJ. So this is Melissa Johnson. She has been helping on the course marking team for years. I don't know how many years, but a lot. And this year will be her first year as our course marking manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she
She'll do a great job.
yes. So I started volunteering at Western States in 2006 before I ran 100s or had the desire to run. The ultra running community, especially Western States, changed my life by enriching it in ways I could never have imagined. I moved to Roby Point
Mm.
to live in Auburn and raise my kids in the ultra running community and near the Western States Trail. The quality of my life is hands down just better because
Hmm.
Western States is in my life. And now I get to make marks. I get to mark so many runners or help. What is that word? I
I
get
think it's Mark.
mark so I get to mark
Mark, yeah.
so runners get to Placer High School. Okay, there we go. Trust is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that is a good point. The trust that we have
Mhm.
and it's just because of history and
Yeah.
that they've obviously earned that trust. But
Yeah.
yes, we have this gigantic course marking team and that do an amazing job of marking our course for days ahead of time. And
Yeah.
anyhow, so Lauren Lewis, 3 times Western States finisher. He has a podcast, Steep Dreams with the Mad Hatters. He wanted me to
There we go.
mention that.
Nice.
Co-captain at Duncan Canyon, favorite athlete, Carrie May.
Oh, wow. Hey. Well, all right.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren. That is very sweet. Lauren is awesome. Lauren ran in 2024. He was the designated runner. And that year we had a runner that was signed up who passed away very tragically and unexpectedly before Western States.
Mhm.
And Lauren ran
Yeah.
with his bib on
Yeah.
the whole race. Then after the race, sent the bib and his buckle to the family.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Okay. El Dorado Creek captain, Scott Bosberg. This handwriting is really bad, Scott. He told me when he handed it to me, that,
Yeah.
he's like, I hope you can read this. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be fine.
There you
So I'm
go.
going to do my best. We are located in one of the most difficult aid stations to get to, and the runners often arrive cooked from the heat in the canyons. I love greeting.
Greeting.
I love
Yeah.
greeting those runners and bringing them back to life and sending them up the trail. It helps to have a creek to dunk them in. Bonus, no media or crews
Oh.
or parking to deal with.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I can see that.
Uh-huh.
Dusty Corners. Why do I volunteer? Because Ken would muck it up.
Well, okay.
That's from Brandon
Yeah.
Solomon.
Okay.
That's why he volunteers. Okay. Michigan Bluff. The Sierra Trail Blazers Running Club
There you go.
shows up for the runners in full force. We as the captains get so much joy out of supporting and witnessing the human spirit and the grit as they push towards their goals. Aaron, Kieran, and Bill.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, this is our sweep team. Paul.
Yeah. Paul does a great job with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And learning from Keenan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so Paul is on our sweep team. Every year I look forward to being part of Western States. Having the fortune to being able to help maintain the trails and on race weekend, seeing runners who during the day look to be at their worst, overcome their challenges and achieve their dreams is incredibly special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and here's Keenan Matz, the why. It feels good and important to be part of establishing accountability and safety for runners. They should be focused entirely on the experience, and hopefully they can do that better knowing their safety is being handled. Also, protecting Leave No Trace with our is just good.
It's just good. Just
Yeah,
good trails.
with our markings.
Yeah.
Yes. Also practicing Leave No Trace with our markings is just good trail
Yeah.
stewardship. Yeah. So our sweep team,
Yeah.
their responsibilities are twofold or fourfold or whatever, but obviously
Mhm.
they help us keep track of the last
Yep.
runners and stay behind them
Mhm.
and also pick up all our course markings
Yeah.
so that we leave
Yeah.
no trace.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here we
Casey.
go. We got Casey from
Casey.
Forest Hill. I love being a part of something that is so much bigger than me, helping people achieve their 100-mile dream or helping a crew believe that their runner will actually finish makes the hard work of organizing equipment and volunteers worth it.
Yeah. Amen.
Another Forest Hill. Forest Hill, we make sure the dream stays alive no matter what.
There it is.
No matter what. John called it. I don't know who wrote that, but hey, yeah, you guys are all on the same page. Cal 1, Aaron, Angela, and Andrea. We love supporting the runners and being a part of this historic race. It's a new adventure every year. That's
Mhm.
for sure. Miller's Defeat, RY. Support the runners and for the honor and privilege of being part of this historic event and for an opportunity to spend a weekend with our running friends and support our club lottery Western States recipient.
Yeah. It is a fun way to spend a weekend, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's Dennis Siloff at Devil's Thumb. There is nothing better than helping a runner achieve their lifelong goal of running Western States. As a past race director, Greg Sutherland used to say, we help ordinary people do extraordinary things, finish Western States.
Yeah.
My Western States why? Participating in an experience where people are achieving a dream, being part of such a professional, caring, classy, and supportive organization. Rachel Sage at ALT.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Rachel.
Yeah.
Greg Larkin, Ham Radio Net Control. I'm inspired to work at Net Control during the race to help keep race flowing smoothly and to ensure the safety of all the runners, crews, and aid station volunteers. Thank you, Greg. And Greg got pulled in the lottery to
Yes.
run this
So
year.
yeah,
So
he's gonna work his tail off and then he'll run the race.
yes, and then, yep, so Joe has to stick around another year, to help with net control before he retires.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. You know, if you're going to retire from this race, you have to make sure there's that succession line set up, and that you know that if you step away, there's going to be somebody equally talented, if not more talented, to take over for you.
Absolutely.
That's just what we do.
Yeah, it is. It's very impressive as far as how committed our managers are to, training their replacement
Yeah.
before they feel good about leaving. I had that experience with Bill Hambrick.
Those were great comments. I'm
Yes,
glad you, I mean,
that was
that was Carrie's idea, was to go to the aid station captains meeting this morning, and then have the aid station captains share some thoughts about that. And every one of those they all told a great story.
yes, absolutely. I loved reading them. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up talking about volunteers for the most part, our aid stations are staffed by like running clubs, running groups, some running stores, so forth, and recruit their own volunteers. But there are
Mhm.
times where we do need more
Yeah.
volunteers,
Hmm.
and so we have online volunteer signups.
Yeah.
And we have a volunteer manager, Laura, and we are opening. Her and I talked today. We're opening shifts online February
Hmm.
1st.
Hmm.
So if you're listening
Yeah.
and you, aren't integrated yet into an aid station or somewhere on the course, and you're like, I really want to come out and volunteer,
Yeah.
look for those signups on the website.
Mhm.
Starting February 1st. And speaking of, we already have trail work day volunteer shifts up. So that's already there if you want to come out and do trail work. Volunteer signups are already up for that. But February 1st, look out for the signups. And then you'll hear from Laura between then and the race to see where we are able to get you out on course somewhere to help out. And let's see, also on that note, a quick RD report, and then we're going to talk about Stride. And so, Granite Chief, we'll talk about real quick.
Mhm.
Trail Work Project. There's 6 opportunities this summer to volunteer on the Granite Chief reroute through the wilderness. And there's a potential that the summer could be the last of that, and that we're going to wrap up that huge project. So, go online, look under the volunteer opportunities there if you want to be a part of that. It's like a camp out situation. Really hard work, but very fulfilling. And then a quick update on the wait list. We have had quite a bit of movement for it
Mhm.
only being, what are we, a month, a little over a month into after the lottery.
Yeah.
So we've had nine people so far in off the wait list.
That's a lot,
It is a
actually.
lot.
Yeah.
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 So fun to keep an eye out on the wait list. And if you're on the wait list, Obviously, I'm sure you're looking at that like every day, but yeah, so we've already next in will be that 10th person on the wait list. And we wanted to talk about one of our sponsors. It's a very unique sponsorship that is providing an opportunity for Western States runners. So we wanted to mention it. And that organization is called Stride, STRIDE. It was founded just this past year in 2025 by Phil Sanderson and Jacqueline Pierogi. They started it after seeing how talented, deeply committed trail and ultra runners were limited, not by ability or dedication, but by access. Trail running has always been rooted in resilience, community, and personal perseverance. Yet the financial and logistical barriers of the sport can prevent many runners from fully participating or reaching their potential. This quote came straight for them. So STRIDE, which stands for Support for Trail Running Inclusion, Development, Empowerment, exists to remove those barriers by providing needs-based grants to runners of all backgrounds and experience levels. By investing in athletes who demonstrate commitment, perseverance, and community spirit, Stride aims to build a stronger, more inclusive trail running community and ensure that opportunity in the sport is defined by passion and effort, not circumstance. So they are providing 5 grants to runners for Western States this year. So if you are interested in applying for one of those grants to help with the finances that it is required to
Hmm.
run a race like this, go onto their website. It's stridegrant.org, and there's a button
Hmm.
apply. So you're going to apply there. And like I said, they're doing 5 of those. So if you're already in the race, and we do have like a few more spots left that are going to be filled by golden tickets. It could be a golden ticket winner that has not yet had a sponsorship or
Hmm.
have, the financial means. We don't want that to prevent them from being able to participate.
Hmm.
Or maybe you're on the wait list and you get in a month or so forth. Anyhow, go to stridegrant.org and hit apply for one of those grants. And thank you um, to Jackie and Phil for creating this nonprofit that is going to help a lot of people. And they plan on doing this with more trail running events in the future. This is just their first one for Western States, but they will be providing grants for other races as well in the future. So
Yeah.
definitely check them out. They're very generous people that are really committed to the trail running community.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea because, as Carrie mentioned, I think one of the challenges in our sport these days, especially I think for people who are younger, who might not have the type of income that others have, the kind of income that for some people is just kind of laying around, and you go ahead and pay the race entry fee or whatever, or travel, and it's not a consideration. But for increasingly larger number of people in the sport, that is a huge, huge concern.
Absolutely.
You wait until you get paid at the end of the month, and you still have a little bit left, and then you enter that race knowing that that's the bank account
Right.
that's disappeared. Then, after you've entered, then what do you do once you get into the race? So there is a need for this, and it seems like I think Western State's really, really happy to be partnering with Phil and Jackie on this endeavor, and hopefully it'll help people.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the registration and then the travel
Yeah.
to get out here, because we have a lot of people that, aren't locals. So to get here to train for it, maybe even to go to training camp. Oh, which by the way, John, we should talk about training camp is sold out. It's the fastest ever that we've
Mm.
sold out training camp. So we have our Memorial Weekend training camp, and it was open to just the runners in the race for the first 2 weeks. And then it opened up to the public. And within 4 days, we were full. So that is sold out. We do have spots that we kind of hold back for those that are still to be determined to get in, like
Mhm.
our golden ticket winners. And if a waitlister gets in, we typically, would let them in as well. But that could be another constraint is coming out for training camp because it's such a valuable
Mhm.
time to
You
come see the course.
you took
Yes,
advantage of
I
that last
did.
year.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was, yes, very fortunate to be, I've been to training camp in prior years to help, and I get to run little sections
Yeah.
of it. I've ran to the pump before, or he dropped me off at the pump anyhow. But this past year, I got to run the whole thing,
Mhm.
all 3 days, from all the distances. So it's extremely valuable weekend to do that. But it's another expense, is my point.
Yeah.
So this grant, is there to help eliminate those barriers to be able to be as successful as possible you can in coming
Yeah.
Western states. So
Yeah.
appreciate those guys. Yeah, sorry it got dark in there for some. We're sitting in the dark in Craig's house. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
don't know
why
if he's paying his power bill here or what's going on, but
so the sun started going out and we're in the dark, but I turned the light up on my computers. But I think that about wraps it up with there we go. Thanks,
hey,
Craig. Yeah. Let there be light. Yeah, I'm just looking through our notes here, but I think we covered everything. Thank you for the light. That we wanted to with our volunteers. I mean, we could probably talk another hour or two at least
easily.
about aid stations and the importance of our volunteers. So I hope they feel the love if they hear this. And if you are listening to this and ever get to interact with our volunteers in our aid stations,
Yeah.
like please pass that love along to them as well, because we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for them. Thank you, John Trent, one of our most important volunteers, as a board member for many years and aid station captain and on several committees, and the list goes on. And your running club that you're a part of, and you just do so much. So thank you. And if you are a volunteer at any other race, yeah, I've always joked that I picked a career that isn't possible if you don't have people that will work for free,
Right.
and that other companies will give you money, like sponsors. So I'm like, what other job do you have to rely on people
Yeah.
working for free in like the harsh conditions
Yeah.
and long
Yeah.
hours and on your feet? And then you also need money from other companies so that your company can be anyhow. It's a very unique business to be in, putting on races, but because the community is so amazing in trail running and ultra running,
Yeah.
luckily, like, people want to be part of that. And especially with a race like Western States, that
Yeah.
we have a unique setup where we have lots of volunteers,
Yeah.
and they're like around for many, many years. So
Carrie, I'm a big believer though in the top down thing where, so if people are coming out and they're working with you, the reason why they want to be part of the races that you organize and race direct is because they know that person at the top, you care about what you do, you're invested in it. It matters so much to you. And I think all of us who volunteer, we want to, we sort of reflect that, because from the top on down, that's the way it is.
well, thank you. Yes, and obviously, huge props to Craig Thornley as that as well, because he is, been here for 14 years now, directing Western States, and yeah, it's been an honor to work under him and learn from all of you. So, guess that's a wrap for episode
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing. So this is, we had like these,
Oh yeah, he's got his name tag
I
on.
still have my name tag on from this morning. It's sort of like, when I ran the race and I'd finish it, you had the little, wristband that had, your medical wristband. The only time that comes off, the only time it's cut off is if you drop out, or you choose not to go on. The aid station captain cuts that off. I'd always wear it around for 2 or 3 days afterwards because I was so proud of finishing. So this is one of these. I'm going to continue to wear this all day because this is what the race is all
I
about.
love that. Yeah, I still have mine on. It's on my outer layer too. But during the board meeting, several board members still had their name tags on, and I just love that we have these handwritten name tags, because, like I said at the beginning, there were like 65 people at this
Yeah.
meeting, and we do sometimes need a reminder, especially like sometimes I know these captains and their names, but I'm like, which aid station were they a captain at? So this is
Yeah.
very helpful to have the name tags, and yeah, I love that you're still wearing this. And by the way, that shirt,
Yeah.
I want one of those shirts.
This goes back a ways. This was a friend of Craig's who developed this T-shirt from, this T-shirt is probably 8, 9 years old, if not maybe a little bit longer than that. Yeah, no sleep till Auburn.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I was looking at it across the table at the board meeting. I was like, oh man, I want one of those shirts. But then I was like, I did actually take a tiny nap at
You did. So there was some
I
sleep
was
to
like, "Oh, I don't
Auburn.
know if I can wear that." I was like, if I don't take a nap right now, I'm gonna fall down. But I don't know if you count it as sleep. But anyhow, I like your shirt. Well, thanks for joining us, Spirit of Western States, and wherever you're listening to us, hit subscribe or follow, leave us a great review, tell your friends about it, send it to everybody. We're trying to get the word out just organically about our podcast. And we have a lot of great information coming up in the next several months leading up to Western States that is going to be really valuable for our runners and our crews and our pacers and media. So that's one of the points of the podcast is information facilitation. So in addition to the website that has 100 and something pages of information, this is going to be another way for people to get that because we all absorb information in different ways.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that by us talking, and whether people watch it as a video or listen to it on Apple, that it's just another way to learn, what do I need to know? What do I need to know as a runner? What do I need to know as a crew member? What do I need to know as media? And we'll have links to those very specific episodes on the website for people. So the more people that know about our podcast, the more people that it's going to help to get that information out to them, make everybody's experience better. Because
For
that's
sure.
that's what we're trying to do. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks, guys.